Okay, now we begin. But what do we begin with? We begin with this moment. Because in truth, there is no life outside of this moment. Even though we have a wonderful story that exists within the world of time, within the mind, we have a past, we have a future that we believe in and that we're living out. But the truth is, it is made up of memories and imaginings. The life that you know outside of this moment is made up of memory and imagining. That's all it is. Ultimately, it is illusory in nature. It doesn't mean that it has to go away. It doesn't mean you can't play in the world of time. Of course you can. It doesn't mean you can't use your mind and think. Of course you can. You can enjoy all your memories and all your imaginings into the future. Of course you can. As long as you don't get lost there, you're okay. As long as you know where the truth of life is, you're okay. As long as you know that only this moment is ever really available to you, you're okay. Then you can play in the world of illusion, you can play in the past and future, as long as you don't get lost there. Now, the truth is that the majority of humanity, we could say almost everyone on the planet, is lost there. They're lost in the illusory world of the past and future. They're lost in the world of not here. Which means they're functioning unconsciously. They're functioning from within the mind, based in their past, projecting into the future, and governed by the ego. Basically functioning as egos in small worlds of separation. And we do our very best to get by, survive, hopefully even thrive in our individual worlds of separation. And those that succeed are not destined to awaken in this lifetime. Those who fail miserably, that's your best chance. That's your best opportunity to awaken out of the dream. When the dream becomes so difficult, so painful, so frustrating, that you're no longer seeking to improve it, you're no longer seeking to make it better. You're willing to drop out of the dream altogether. And where will you find yourself when you drop out of the dream? When you relax out of the dream, out of the story? Where will you be? The answer is so simple. You'll be here. When? Now. Present in this moment. And the whole point of awakening is to become grounded, fundamentally established in the present moment. So that you're no longer involuntarily pulled into the mind where you're governed by the ego. That simply doesn't happen anymore. You're fundamentally present. You think when you choose to think. You think consciously. You play in the world of time. You play effectively. You enjoy. You know that the world of time is duality. So you're in balance in the world of duality. But you never go so far into the world of the mind, into time, into the world of not here, that you get lost there. The truth is, nothing ever happened and there's nothing to fix. And there's nothing missing and there's nothing wrong. Now, the difficulty is that's only true if you're present in the moment. Then that's true. If you leave the present moment and you're back in your dream, in your story, then of course there are things that feel painful or incomplete. And of course you feel driven to complete it or improve it or make it better. And that just takes you further and further away from the truth of life revealed through the present moment. And what I'm describing is really what has happened to humanity. And we are on a dangerous path of destruction in our unconsciousness. Never before has there been such an urgency for us to awaken. Because of our technological advances. When we were killing each other with knives and swords and stone axes, you couldn't really do that much harm. How many can you kill with a sword? How many trees can you chop down with an axe? But now with technological advances the way they are, we can do great harm to ourselves and everything on this planet if we continue living unconsciously, if we remain unconscious. That's why it's so important for us as individuals to awaken, to free ourselves from the prison that is the world of the mind and open up into the truth of life, the present moment, which reveals oneness. That's what is needed, the realization of oneness. Whether it's oneness that you experienced among yourselves, or whether it's oneness that you experience in the moment with a tree or a flower or a mountain or a bird soaring across the sky, you start to feel the oneness that is in everything. And as you open into oneness, the illusion of separation, the pain of separation that we've lived with all our lives just slowly and gently melts away as you open into oneness. That's the whole point of the journey. We got ourselves lost so that ultimately we could be found. And when you're present, there's such a fullness in you. It's as if all of you is here. You're fully available to the moment. It really is like giving yourself over to the moment. I forget my story. I forget me. I'm here and available to what is here, present with me. There's a tremendous generosity in that. And everything will respond to you. If you bring the gift of presence to what is here, you will discover that what is here will respond to you. If you bring the gift of presence to people in your life, at first they might resist because it's so unfamiliar to them. But if you're able to remain present, there'll be a shift. Something will slowly shift within them as they realize that this is the gift that they've always wanted. This is the gift that they've been waiting for forever. The gift of presence. The gift of another being present with them. That is the gift. That is the gift you bring to the altar. It is the only gift you can bring to the altar, the gift of your presence. It's no longer about you anymore. It's about these flowers. It's about these leaves. It's about what's here in the room. And you know, that's very, very relaxing when it's no longer about me, me, me. It's so tiring, isn't it? Me, me, me. What's in it for me? I'm so depleted within myself. I'm so incomplete within myself. I so need to be loved because I feel unloved. I need it all for me. Give it to me. It's exhausting. But to be here with another, what a blessing to really be here. Isn't that true, Masao? That's the blessing. That's the gift we bring. Are you bringing it in this moment, Carol? Probably not. You don't need to answer. You're probably concerned with some aspect of your story, more than likely. And that's okay. You're allowed to be. It's so easy to see not only when someone is present, but when they're fully here. There's such an expansiveness to that. There's such a generosity to that. There's such a gift in that. Okay, so does anyone have a question? And if you don't be too concerned because we have a whole list of questions from our webcast people. And there's some good questions.
This question is from Leslie from Santa Cruz. Dear Leonard, thank you for your powerful words on presence. Is it possible to remain as present when there are highly charged and troublesome thoughts and emotions? How to see them as presence itself? Thank you for your clear presentation and beautifully helpful webpage. Warmly, Leslie.
Okay, thank you, Leslie. The fact that strong emotions and feelings are arising, or strong thought forms are arising, can only occur in the present moment. It's an energetic phenomenon of the present moment. The feelings are arising in the moment. So in order to remain present, you have to be willing to be present with the feelings as they're arising in the moment. Because the fundamental key to being present is to be present with whatever's here in the moment with you. The moment you're present with what's really here, you come out of the mind, now you're here. Whether you're present with these flowers or the sound you hear or your body breathing, you're present with what is here. If you're truly present, your mind is silent, now you're here. If you're present with these flowers, for example, the flowers don't have any story woven into them, do they? Being present with the flowers doesn't drag you into a story. Now, when feelings and emotions arise from within, it's true the feelings are arising in the moment. The problem is they have a very powerful story woven into them. So it's easy to get caught in the story. The moment you're caught in the story, the moment you're identified with the story that the feelings are telling, now you're lost. You're no longer present. You've become caught in the past. Being present with the feeling itself is fine. You'll stay present, no problem. You can be angry, you can cry, you can feel afraid. As long as you're present with it, it's not a problem. But if you get all identified with the story, you believe in the story that the feelings are telling you. Now you're lost. Now you're caught. So as awakening beings, we have to master the art of being utterly present on the one hand, utterly uninvolved in the story, and yet on the other hand, we're utterly feeling the emotions as they're arising and expressing, but not identified with any of it. What I'm sharing is only possible when there's a fairly well-developed level of presence awake in you. That enables you to be present and yet not lost in the story, because you know that in presence the story has nothing to do with you. But you're not going to deny the story. You're not going to repress the story. You're not even going to try and fix the story. You're just going to let the feelings surface and let the feelings reveal their story. They're entitled to reveal their story. The feelings have a right to exist and express as themselves. So if you can master that, then the feelings are a part of the present moment. You can remain present. It's the same with thoughts as they arise. If a very strong thought form arises, if you can be present and witness it, even express it if you want, but you don't believe in it, you don't follow after it, you're neither for nor against. You see, that's the true position of presence. Neither for nor against anything. I simply am. I am, it is. I am, the sound I hear is. I am, my breathing body is. I am, the feeling that is arising is. I'm not for or against anything. And then what happens is I open up into the isness that exists in everything, that is everything. Everything existing eternally as eternal isness. That's the awakened state, to be awake in the isness, the oneness. Who is awake in the isness? I am. Who is I am? I am. And then beyond that, there's just silence, eternal silence. Nothingness. Pure consciousness. I am that too. Who is that too? I am. It's the end of the road, the end of the journey. Who is at the end of the journey? I am. Just presence. And it is so valuable to relax into this deep level of presence that I'm speaking of. It's so healing at so many levels. Just to really be here. Okay, so I don't see any hands going up. If anybody has a question, please raise your hand. Let me know, otherwise we'll go to our list.
This question is from Leon from Salt Lake City, and it's entitled Enlightened Evolution. Once enlightened, is there still deepening or another paradox like stillness/growth? In a million clock years, will Leonard have evolved? Love you.
Well, it follows on beautifully from what I was just speaking about. One would hope that Leonard, the individual, the personal dimension of this being here, will have evolved just a little bit a million years from now. And my sense of it is that at that personal level, there's always evolution occurring as we deepen into presence and come more and more into alignment with presence as we express at the personal level. We're no longer lost in the mind. We're no longer governed by the ego. But somehow there's a deepening and a refinement of the alignment of the personal expressing the impersonal. But at the very center of my being, at the very center of your being, is the eternal isness that I was just speaking of. And the eternal isness does not evolve. In the beginning was eternal isness. At the very end is eternal isness. In between eternal isness. It's the essence of everything in existence. It's pure consciousness. It's in everything and everyone. It's even in the space between us right now. It's the space in the room. It's isness. You can't really define it. It's silent. It's eternal. But you can't really speak of it. It never changes. You see, it's at the center of all form. It manifests as form, from the formless into form. The form that it manifests as might change, but the essence which is giving rise to the form is changeless. And what I'm speaking of exists in each one of these flowers, in each one of these leaves, and in each one of you. But we humans have a particular dilemma. The more we go into the mind, the more we disconnect from what I'm speaking of. And awakening is literally freeing ourselves from the mind and that disconnect and coming back into the present moment, back into the body, into presence, utterly present with what is here. And as you become utterly present with what is here, you'll begin to experience what I'm speaking of, isness. It's just everything existing eternally as it is. Next time you're outside, just feel into, become very present with a tree. It's really easy to feel the isness of a tree, or the sky, or the distant mountain. But it's actually in everything. It's in the garbage can on the side of the road. If you're present enough, you'll feel the isness, you'll feel the presence. It's the same thing. You'll feel the oneness. You'll feel it, you'll see it, you'll experience it, you'll sense it, you'll know it. Because you're so present that you are it. The isness is in you. The silent presence is in you, at the center of your being. It's the truth of who you are. The more present you are, the more you open up to it. The more you open up to it, the more you witness it in everything around you. See, when you're present, there's nothing much happening, is there, folks? You're just here. Your mind, of course, your ego is used to a drama, but when you're present, there's no drama happening. You're just here. It's easy, it's relaxing, it's very peaceful. In a way, when you're really present, there's no expression. But then, whenever the moment arises for expression, it just arises freely and you express. No limitation to your expression. And if you find yourself being caught in the mind, or the mind is intruding, or feelings are arising, you're losing presence, you're getting caught up somehow in your story, no problem, you bring all that to consciousness. Eventually, we are all destined to become masters of our own mind and ego. And the great irony is, once you're a master of your own ego, you're a master of all egos. because there's only one ego. And to be a master of your own ego, or to be a master of all egos, or the one ego, is to come into right relationship with it. It's to relate to the ego with love, with acceptance, with compassion. No judgment, no trying to get rid of it, no seeking enlightenment, believing the ego will be annihilated somehow. From presence you come into right relationship with every aspect of yourself. Your body, your thoughts, your feelings, your ego, who you've become. You come into right relationship. Love, acceptance, compassion, and allowing. Even trying to fix yourself is a form of judgment. It's not about fixing yourself, it's about revealing every aspect of yourself. That doesn't fix you, it heals you. And the word healing comes from the word wholeness, or it's associated with wholeness. You opening up into wholeness. No fragmentation. You see, when you're denying and repressing and judging and trying to fix and hiding, all it leads to is fragmentation. There's all these fragmented parts of yourself. But as you become present and as you bring love, acceptance and compassion and allowing to all these fragmented aspects of yourself, it all starts to relax and come back into wholeness. It all relaxes and releases you into wholeness. A relaxation occurs. Okay, shall we have another question, Mary?
This is from Doug from Wisconsin Dells, Wisconsin. I feel on the edge of an emotional breakthrough. I've been using PC games to keep the energy trapped inside my body. I feel like I'm being run by something deep inside of me that is determining my responses in everyday life, and I am tired of it. I know I'm a machine, and I would like to see what is doing this. It is showing up as emotion trapped in my body. I feel like I'm about to explode, but I can't.
Okay, Doug, you want to know who is doing this? The answer is your ego is doing this. And your ego is your friend and protector. And it came into your life at a very, very young age to help you out, to protect you. Whatever you were experiencing as a young child was too much for you to bear. Your parents weren't with you in the way that you needed them to be. Perhaps they were abusive in some way or neglectful in some way. I don't know your story, Doug. But all the feelings as a young child became too much to bear for you. As a young child, 2 years old, 3 years old, 4 years old, the anger because you're not getting what you want, the hurt because you're not getting what you want or you have to live with what you don't want, the feeling that you're not allowed to be yourself, the needs that are not being met as a young child. All of these feelings are way too much to bear as a very young child, and so the ego comes in, and its first job upon your behalf as your friend and protector is to repress these feelings at a very, very deep level, bury them. The motivation behind that is to save you from having to feel them. Then the ego basically takes over and runs your show, manages your life, develops all sorts of strategies so you don't have to feel these feelings. So you can avoid feeling rejected or feeling hurt. And what happens is that over a period of time, as you add more and more feelings into this pit of repressed feelings, it all gets too much. It's as if it's held down very tightly by a very strong spring. And it all gets too much. And then there comes a point where it's all wanting to release, but the ego applies equal pressure to keep it down because that's its job. You have to find your way into deeper levels of presence and then find your way into right relationship with these feelings, right relationship with your ego. The ego has to realize that it's time to allow these feelings to arise, but it can be gentle. It doesn't have to be all at once. It can be a gentle, gradual process of allowing the feelings up so that they're not so tightly wound up. Otherwise, it feels like you're going to explode. Now, the problem is that it's very difficult to become present because being present is an embodied state. You're literally coming into the body. And where do you think all these repressed feelings are stored? They're stored in the body. So as you become present and you start coming into the body, the first thing you're going to encounter, or one of the early things you'll encounter, is all the feelings repressed within the body. And so there's a tendency to escape again, to not feel them. But where do you go to escape? You have to go further into the mind, more and more governed by the ego. Intensify the repression of the feelings. Keep them even more tightly wound up. So it's just a gradual process, learning the art of being present, learning the art of right relationship with feelings, coming into right relationship with the ego. It doesn't happen overnight. It's a process that occurs over time. Okay?
When you talked about wholeness, that resonated a lot with me and inspired me. And I'm not living from that place in my ordinary life. For instance, today I felt very sad, and I felt it when I came tonight. And I kind of want to. It feels like I'm always running into the same thing that I can't quite integrate or get over, and I'm sort of getting really sick of it. That's what I want to say. Like, I really want to integrate what I need to integrate and if there's something that I'm here to learn.
All you can do, Josh, is the path that I've steered you on for some time.
Yeah.
Deepening into presence and paying attention to whatever fragments show up.
Yeah.
The more you can be in right relationship with these fragments as they show up, whether they show up as feelings or discomfort in your body or thoughts, whatever shows up, who you've become, aspects of who you've become, it's just a continuation of presence, bringing it all to consciousness, revealing it, coming into right relationship with it all.
Yeah.
And you're making great progress. You're still fairly young. How old are you?
36.
Okay, 36, I hadn't even had my first awakening. So you're ahead of me. You're ahead of the game. Okay. Don't be in a hurry, because I can tell you, once you get there, what are you going to do? The game is up. Who wants to get there too quickly? I'd take at least 3 more years, but continue making the progress that you're making, which is beautiful.
Thank you. And
Okay.
a quick confession,
Yes.
if I may. Well, when I'm in oneness, I'm attracted to men and women.
So?
Sort of very naturally and fluidly or something.
So what's the problem?
Somehow it shows up in mundane social interactions, like that, just that level of...
So what's the problem?
It seems to be affecting me in a big way.
That's
I don't
because
know why.
that's because you're judging it.
Yeah.
You're not allowing it to be what it is.
Okay, then I want to, I guess, own that and confess that.
Good.
Then that I need to work on that or something.
You just need to relax and accept every aspect of yourself.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah, I want that.
I saw something on TV that was very moving and inspiring. It was a couple who had 2 children. a boy who was older and was quite masculine in his the way he was living. He loved weapons and shooting and firing, swords and playing with swords and all of that. One could say a typical boy. The younger child was a boy, but at the age of 6, this younger boy decided and declared that I'm not a boy, I'm a girl. And to see this young 7-year-old child living out so comfortably as a girl in girl's clothing, absolutely knowing that he's not a boy, she's a girl. The way this little child accepted it so deeply was so touching and moving, and the parents accepted it. It was just very touching to accept yourself at such a deep level at such a young age. I found it very, very moving. And really, we all need to get to that point within ourselves where we're just so accepting. Okay, so someone over here is a little shyer than someone over here. So what? Nobody says we have to all be the same. Someone over here expresses himself one way and someone over here expresses themselves quite differently. Each of us is a unique individual. And the more you're accepting of who you are, the easier your life is going to be, the more fulfilled you're going to feel. You're not here to be like anyone else. Now, of course, this is all subject to us being present. This child was present and completely comfortable with what was opening up for her. And she was a very, very sweet and pretty young girl, dressed beautifully, with painted nails. It was really sweet. That's the level of acceptance you have to get to, Josh. It's insane to judge yourself and keep yourself in this conflict. The same goes for someone else that I happen to know in New York who is listening in right now and will know who I'm speaking of. To remain in conflict, judging yourself because of your sexual preferences, or anything else for that matter, is ridiculous. You are who you are. And if anyone is judging you, apart from you, then you have to have compassion for them. But they manage to pass their judgment on so they don't have to feel it by judging you. And if you take it on, well then who's the idiot for taking it on? You let everyone remain with their judgments. You say blessings upon your judgments. For you are the one who has to live with the energy of judgment, not me, unless I take it on. And why would I take on the energy of judgment from anyone? Really simple. Because there's a hook, there's a trap that I can easily fall into. I don't mean me personally, I should hasten to add. I'm speaking as the collective here. There's a hook, there's a trap. If I want you to accept me, I open myself to your judgment. If I want you to like me or approve of me or love me, I'm exposing myself to your judgment, to your rejection, to your disapproval. I'm creating that for myself. I can't really complain when the judgment comes back, because I invited it by my needing your acceptance or your approval. So if I can take responsibility for that, wow, I just noticed myself needing your acceptance, needing your approval, fearing your judgment. I just noticed it. Please forgive me. You are a free being. You are free to approve or disapprove. It has nothing to do with me. You are free to love me or not love me. It has nothing to do with me. You are free to judge me. It has nothing to do with me. And I apologize for intruding into your boundaries with my need for acceptance or my fear of judgment. What an intrusion into you. What a way to entangle myself in you. And I'm really only doing it as a way of avoiding my aloneness. But now I'm coming back to myself. You're all free to be yourselves. The only thing I ask of you, as a request, is that you be present. If you're present, what more could I ask for? And if you're not present, you're allowed to not be present. But I'll be here anyway.
This question is from Bimi from last week. If the present moment is always the same, is it the same for everyone? If two people are present at the same moment in the same situation, that moment will not be the same for each person, will it? So how is it the same?
Well, in a way, I've already answered that. But I'll go over it again briefly. When we become very, very present, the mind falls silent. The past is not here. The future is not here. Our opinions are not here. Our ideas and beliefs and concepts are not here. When we're truly present with something that is here in the moment with us. No longer am I projecting me onto the present moment. I'm experiencing the present moment for what it is. I am here, the present moment is here revealing itself. And at the heart of that revealing is the isness, the silence, the presence, the pure consciousness that I'm speaking of. And that presence, that silence, that pure consciousness is the same for anyone who is truly present. It's the same experience. It's the same one experiencing. Now, you, Jessica, might be looking at these flowers, if you are. You might be looking at these flowers, and I might be looking over here at Gigi. So we're looking at different things. Our experience of the present moment is different in that sense. But the deeper level of presence is the same. The one experiencing, the I am that I am, experiencing this moment is the same. The I am that I am is no different to the I am that thou art. One I am, eternal silent presence, pure consciousness, transcendent of all individuality, impersonal, eternal, silent. I am that I am.
This is from Stephanie. Hi, Leonard. Does God provide? I've been taught my whole life that God, or some higher entity, provides. I have a wonderful husband, beautiful daughter, and a decent job that provides for us. Was this my own hard work playing in the world of time, or is this provided by God? Thanks.
Okay, so the answer is it's both. There are certain principles at work in the context of this question. the underlying principle is that if you bring to God what God wants, God will bring to you what you want. And the only thing God wants of any of us is that we be truly present, that we awaken in consciousness and open up into presence and oneness. So once there's a certain level of fulfillment in that regard, and you're bringing the gift to the altar, the gift of presence, then God is going to ask you, well, what do you want? And then there are certain conditions that you have to pass before God can really bring into your life what you want. The first is you have to be clear about what you want. If you're divided, well, a part of me wants to live in the country and a part of me wants to live in the city, God's going to say, oh, that's very nice, let me know when you're clear. I can't bring that to you, you don't know what you want. So you get clear about that. You're not divided, you're very clear about what you want. And maybe something new arises that you want and you're very clear about it. I want love in my life. I want someone to come into my life who loves me. And God is about to respond and bring that into your life, and then God looks a little more deeply into you and sees, oh, I see a wound from your past and from your childhood, and a belief, a very subtle belief that you're not lovable and that there's no one here to love you. I'm sorry I can't help you, says God. That deeper wound and belief will prevail and must prevail. So bring it to consciousness, heal it, free yourself from that limiting belief, heal that wound so that you open up into love, and then I can bring love into your life. And so love comes into your life. You go through that process. And then you decide, I'd like a new job. Then you have to go through the same process. Be very clear about what the job is. Make sure there's no unresolved wounds from your childhood. I'm not good enough. I can't do it. I'm a failure. I don't deserve to succeed. You've got to bring all that to consciousness. And when all that's brought to consciousness and healed, God's going to say to you, good, well done. Now, go and do what you need to do to get a job. Then it becomes a kind of a partnership, a cooperation. These are the elements and the steps one has to pass through to really open up into an abundant life. You have to be clear about what you want, heal any limitations or wounds from your past, and then take whatever steps you need to do to bring what you want into your life. And of course, if you're really present, and God says, well, my beloved, you've brought me the gift of presence, thank you, now tell me what you want. If you're really present, it's quite likely you'll respond, but I want nothing, for everything that I could possibly want is already here. I feel so full and whole and complete in this moment. And then God will say, excellent, let me know if that changes. Now, when I speak like this, I'm not wanting to personalize God. It's arising out of the deepest level of mystery. This is just a way to express principles of consciousness, realization, abundance. And for me, God and the present moment are one and the same. God and existence revealing itself moment to moment, one and the same. God and isness itself, one and the same. God and all that is, one and the same. And you have to be very, very watchful very alert, because the ego would love to come in and say, this is nothing, this present moment, this is nothing. I'm wanting more than this. I'm looking for more than this. And my response to my ego, if it were to say that to me, I would say, my beloved ego, oh, how right you are. This is nothing. And my ego really wouldn't have an answer to that, because it's the truth. I might even say to my ego, relax and experience God in God's form as nothingness. Relax. It's okay. This is nothing. This is eternal silent presence. This is pure consciousness. Ah, this. I am not the first to utter those words. Ah, this. To resonate deeply with those two words, ah, this, is to come into communion with all the saints and sages and masters that have ever lived and who have known, ah, this. It's a universal expression of realization. Ah, this. You know how I keep suggesting let's come back into presence together? That's how you need to be when you're out there in the world. You're playing in time, you're engaging with people, then you say to yourself very gently, very lovingly, come back to presence. And really without any words, you're just instantly present. Without any effort, without any practice. You really have to master the art of flowing between engaging and expressing in the world of time, relating to others, and yet come back to presence. Come back to the deepest levels of pure presence. Often. Master the art of being profoundly present and lightly present. Moving up and down that vertical scale as you play in the world of time and as you transcend time itself. You move up and down the vertical scale. Sometimes it's timeless. Other times you're still present, but you're playing in the world of time. You're not lost there.
This question is from Brent from Santa Fe. Being present, can you distinguish between what is healthy masculine expression and ego-based willfulness?
I'm not sure how one defines true masculine expression. It's just being yourself, expressing yourself as a man authentically. And being aware when the ego comes in and somehow is involved in your expression. But I think there is a masculine expression and a feminine expression. And in an ideal state, we embody both within us. We're comfortable with the feminine aspect of ourselves. We're comfortable with the masculine aspect of ourselves. And the ego really doesn't even come into it. It really just comes back to being present and expressing authentically from presence. Whether you're expressing as a man, as the masculine or the feminine, it makes no difference. If you're present, expressing as either, your ego is not involved. If you're caught in your mind, if you're expressing from the past or future, from within the mind, you can bet your bottom dollar the ego is involved. And then that will distort masculine expression. It will turn masculine expression into something that it's not really meant to be, mixed with aggression, mixed with winning. It literally distorts true masculine expression. And the ego's involvement can also distort true feminine expression. The more present we are, the more authentic our expression is, whether I'm a man expressing my feminine side or I'm a man expressing my masculine side, it's going to be authentic expression. Or whether you're a woman expressing your feminine side or your masculine side, it's going to be authentic expression. So really it's very simple. Are you present or are you in the mind? If you're in the mind, bring consciousness to how your ego is affecting the way you are in the world.
This is from Scott from Walnut Creek. It seems that Leonard suggests our best chance for freedom is being in a state of non-doing, dropping the thinking mind. But since we all need to sustain our bodies by working to pay the bills, what chance do we have when most of our daily lives are consumed with business to survive?
Okay, so that whole question is based on a false premise and a falsehood. It's an illusion that most of our lives are taken up with business. You really have to review that statement and determine exactly how much of your life is taken up by business or needs to be taken up by business. And when you're not conducting business, why are you thinking about business? How many moments each day can you be present and there's no business involved? The answer is many, many moments, probably a good part of the day. You don't need to be involved with business. Your mind doesn't need to be taken up with business. Now, on the other hand, when it's time for business, when it's a time to attend to business matters, then attend to it fully, attend to it intelligently, attend to it clearly. And in the process, bring to consciousness whatever is still with you from your past that is affecting the way you are doing business and engaging in making a living for yourself or earning an income. What unconscious energies are channeling into the way you engage in business. I'm not good enough. I have to please my mother. I have to succeed or no one will accept me. It's all about me being successful so I don't feel a failure, etc., etc. All of these things need to be brought to consciousness. Then you can determine how much of your life is really given over to business. And even if a lot of your day is given over to business, it doesn't mean there aren't many moments each day where you can't be profoundly present. The catch is that in order to be profoundly present, you have to surrender business for those moments of profound presence. So it's more than likely your ego is using your involvement in business and busyness to prevent you from being present. Again, that has to be brought to consciousness. So it's all based on a false premise. No one is that busy that they can't find a moment here and there for the deepest levels of eternal presence. Utter presence, pure consciousness. No past or future, no work. It doesn't exist in the moment, not this moment. Even if you're at work and you're busy writing or typing on the computer, pause for a moment. Give it all up and become incredibly present for 3 seconds, 10 seconds. Bring the gift to the altar for 10 seconds. Then go back to work. You don't have to be present all the time. Every now and then is more than enough. 10 seconds a day of pure presence will transform your life. If it's pure presence, if you've given yourself over completely to the present moment, if you've surrendered your ideas, your thoughts, your past, your future, your story, your work, you've surrendered your relationships, your sons, your daughters, you've surrendered it all to be utterly present with what is here. Each time you remember presence and honor the present moment as the truth of life, it's almost like dropping an anchor into the present moment. And slowly, 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 you become anchored in the present moment. You become more and more grounded in the present moment. You become more fundamentally established in the present moment. To be present is the highest form of prayer. For me, to be present is true prayer.